We got a brand new episode of Broad and Forever coming at you. I'm your host, Deputy Sports Editor, PhillyVoice.com, Shamus Clancy. I am joined, as always, by my guy, Zo. Zo, how you doing, pal?
We are almost exactly 72 hours out from playoff hysteria, brother.
Are you going?
I am going to game 2.
Do we think that's Monday, probably?
We think that's more than likely going to be Monday, unless like something weird happens with the Celtics Hawks series. But I think more than likely, yeah, we think that's Monday night.
Yeah,
that'll be I feel like that'll be an 8:00 TNT game too.
I like the Saturday afternoon opener.
I love it. Yeah, I'm a big fan of those. And plus, I feel like it's always a younger crowd, because people typically bring kids to that game. Yeah. So like it's a livelier crowd, So like the first one, game 1, 80 degrees, or like I think 72 is gonna be sunny, like perfect. Literally the first game of the playoffs.
Are you bringing Amari?
So probably round 2.
Okay.
He'll go. He's got a busy weekend too. He has T-ball practice Saturday morning at 9, right? So that's like 9 to like 9:45, and he's got a game Sunday morning. I mean, life of an athlete. He's like no big deal to me, right? Swaggy
legend in 2 games,
right?
Like legend in 2 games, like Amari Jones,
right? Dude, I mean, the guy is living the life, man. All I do is hang out and play sports. Like, no big deal.
I'm probably not gonna. I don't know if maybe if works out, I could go maybe in the second round. Saturday, I'll be editing esteemed Kyle Neubeck's beat writers Sixers recap. Make sure to look out for that on PhillyVoice.com immediately following the game. So I'll just be chilling on Saturday. But the weather's nice, man. This is coming back. It just, for someone who's so cynical about the Sixers, and I feel like I'm always saying that on here, there is a beauty about the spring coming and postseason basketball. And even if you're someone like me who's pretty burnt out on the team after just the onslaught of the disappointments of the last handful of years, after being so gung-ho and throwing really both my professional and personal life into the process era. And for now to be almost 29 and they still haven't made the second round since I was 7 years old, it's a little disheartening to me. But when that weather's nice, that tip-off happens, Embiid throws home a tomahawk jam against the fucking Nets,
I think
makes me feel young again. I feel 19, I feel 22, I feel 23 again.
It's cool, man. I think you mentioned it before. Kind of like you have I think I mentioned it to you too, but you have a very unique introspect because you were front and center. Like we were front and center, but like you literally professionally wrote about it. Like you were there. Yeah. You were in it for the process here.
So I fought in the war.
Right. You were in the war, bro.
I fought in the blog war.
Like you were a quote unquote blog boy for all those years.
Totally.
You and Mike Levin, and I don't want to miss anybody, but like
the whole Liberty Ballers crew, Spike the Rookie, it's very influential. Right. Yeah.
The whole, and like so it's a different feeling. I would agree. I feel like people have been asking me, and I'm gonna say the same thing Friday, but like people have been asking me like how to feel or like how they should feel, because like this is new, right? Like, there's a lot of people who want to believe in this team. I feel like Joe being the presumptive MVP.
It really looks like it, doesn't it? And I'm someone who 2.5 months ago was like, oh, he's just never going to win MVP. And that's not necessarily his fault. It's just the way the voting media has swung on him and how they feel about Jokic. And then there's always the ever-present is that Giannis is sort of the third-party candidate, right? If you can't really decide between these two, just give it to him. And I mean, I would give him if in my theoretical ballot this year, he'd be number 2. In the past 2 years, Jokic would be 2.
Right.
But imagine, I tried to look up last year. They announced the MVP winner on May 11th, which was a big change from like the previous 2 or 3 years where they did that bullshit award show after the season, which is disgusting to me. Disgusting, because it has to be a guy who, when he has a second round home game, is able to hoist the trophy in front of the crowd like Iverson did. I think that should be an iconic thing. And I think too, another huge moment of doing that was in 94-95, David Robinson putting up the trophy in front of Hakeem, and then Hakeem turning into fucking barbecue chicken.
I think that the funny thing about it is he plays his best against the Celtics. And
for the first time ever. This year, he was unbelievable against the Celtics.
The first time ever, he was absolutely unbelievable, right? And so I think doing that, handing him the trophy like game 2 or game 3 of that series, which
game 3 coming home 1-1, coming home
1-1, and it's game 3 of that series, and it's at 8:00 TNT game, and before the game, he's hoisting the trophy, and then he goes out and he has a 30-point triple-double or 30-point double-double like he normally does. Like, that's what I am on record saying that I think they're going to beat the Celtics. I think that would be a watershed moment for us in this city and for this team, for this team's relationship as a recent with this city. I think that him winning it would go a terribly long way with how he's viewed amongst I don't want to say casuals, but like amongst the casuals in this city, right? And I feel like amongst us, the people who, we've been there since the first navicular bone fracture.
I was at the game. I took a Vine back when Vine was big. I was doing a lot of shit on there, and you get a bunch of views, and it was good for Twitter. And I was coming up.
Love Vine, dude.
Yeah, dude. It's not an original take, but I wish the NBA would have bought Vine because everyone was just using it for the NBA.
People love
anyway. The dunk he does that one between the legs where he re-injured himself. That was a Vine that got like 900,000 views from me on there. What did I sacrifice for a minuscule internet cloud and a season of Joel Embiid?
And it was that, right? Remember? And then it was like when he tore his MCL and he was
played the Rockets game.
Yeah, the Rockets game.
It was on ESPN Friday night. Yeah,
and they were like why did you even let him finish the game? And it was like, well, it was Embiid versus Harden. He didn't want him. Ironically,
exactly. Yeah.
Were, and then when he was at the Meat concert and he was dancing with his shirt off. And
that's blood on Gibbs' hands, I think, because he was taking a video of them dancing. That's blood on Gibbs' hand. Not the first time there's been blood on his hands, nor shall it be the last.
There's blood on Indonesia Gibbs' hands.
Globetrotter Gibb.
Our guy. I'm excited, man. Yeah, I'm excited for Friday. I feel like I'm excited to I think also talking about it in the lead up has gotten me in a different space. I feel like it may be you can I feel like this may be how you felt about the 2017 Birds, but I feel like this team this year I felt different in terms of something just tells me that they're going to find a way. And I can't really tell you what it is.
Sure.
If you told me to scheme it, I wouldn't be able to scheme it for you.
Yeah.
Like I can't tell you how they're going to do it, but I feel like they're going to do it. And I know that it's a weird thing to say given that they're going to have the best player on the court in both series, but I feel like that's only one part of it. Like I can't tell you if it's going to be Maxey, if it's going to be Harden, if it's going to be fucking Tobias, but like,
okay,
something tells me, right? Something tells me that it's going to be like that they're going to get it done, but I just can't. Like this first round series aside, I feel like from the second round on, it like I do think it's going to be something that we all have either hoped for or have been begging for that gets it done for them. Like maybe it's finally the series where Tyrese Maxey finally sheds the little kid, vibe.
Yeah.
Like he's a guy now, but like I think the little brother tag comes off once we need you to go out and score 20 against Marcus Smart. You know what I mean?
I think the winner of the finals this year comes out of the East. I think there are 3 teams that could win the finals.
Yep.
Obviously, different percentages.
Yep.
I think Milwaukee can win. I think Boston can win, and I think the Sixers can win.
Yeah.
And it's ultimately, to me, a bit of a rock paper scissors thing, where Celtics can beat Sixers, Sixers can beat Bucks, but Bucks can beat Celtics, and it's hard to get around some of those obstacles. So I'm someone who, when we go on record, if the next round when they smash Brooklyn's teeth in or whatever, I'm going to say, hey, Celtics in 7 or whatever, Celtics in 6, and then
that's what Spike said. Spike said,
yeah. But if they beat the Celtics, they're actually going to win the fucking championship. It's wild that dichotomy there between. I don't think they're getting past the second round, but if they do, they're going to win the finals in 5 or 6 games.
It is a weird. It's like I would equate it to like I don't think they're going to beat San Fran and San Fran, but if they do, they're going to win it all. They're going to go.
Yeah,
and win, you know what I mean, like that kind of thing. Like I don't think they can go in the Arrowhead and win, but if they do, they're probably going to win it all after that. Like I think that it's interesting too because neither of those 3 teams is going to have an easy second round. Like obviously, Sixers and Celtics are going to play, and if the Celtics win, the Celtics will have earned it. Like you know what I mean? Like the Sixers won't be a step over. It's going to be a tough either 6 or 7 game, and then vice versa. If the Sixers win, they will have certainly earned it. And then you look at the Bucks, and man, I mean, shit. Like the Cavs are not the Cavs. First of all, I think the Cavs are going to beat the Knicks in 5 games. The Cavs are really fucking good. The Cavs are very, very good. I think
they're going to be a 5-game series. They're going to grind them.
They are. They are going to grind. It's going to be tough. I think. Evan Mobley, a guy who is most likely, I think Jaren Jackson should win Defensive Player of the Year, but it looks like Evan Mobley.
This feels like a national coming out party for him to the casual observer, right?
Yeah. Like you look at the Cavs and you're like, all right, well, we know who they have and who their big name guys are, but like, I think Spider Mitchell aside, I think this will be a coming out party for a guy like Evan Mobley. I think it'll be a tough 5 or 6 game series. So like, yeah, I think both teams, whoever comes out, will be limping into the Eastern Conference Finals. Which is, I mean, I say limping, not physically, but like I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough playoffs. The East is a battleground this year.
Is there any way you think Atlanta could beat Boston in a 7-game series?
No.
It'd just be hilarious if we thought things broke so well for the Sixers again, only to face Atlanta in the second round as favorites again, and have a couple meltdowns and lose in 7.
I think that it would be. Here's how it could happen. Atlanta plays, and you were at the games. You probably didn't watch it all, but they ran.
Yeah, I didn't watch last night.
They ran the Heat out of the building last night, right? And like they played really fast. They played a really fast brand of basketball. They're not as physical, but they were definitely the more physical team last night. But they're fast and they make you run. And you see that's how they beat the Sixers. They made the Sixers run, and they made the Sixers play faster than they like. They beat them in 7 games. So to that point, I would tell you that's the only way that they could win this year. So you don't want to say anything's impossible. That's kind of weird. Like if you're in, you're in, right? But I think that the only reason or their only chance is to play really fast. Like I think if they speed the game up, they give themselves a shot. You come back to Atlanta 1-1, it's a different series. So
yeah. I mean, there are a series where there is an upset factor, and then there are other series where the only upside factor relies, and this obviously isn't wishing injuries on anyone, but a Derrick Rose situation, right? That's a different quality qualifier for an upset. I think maybe this series is more that way rather than, I don't know, 2011 Grizzlies over San Antonio. It would be more that way. Yeah,
I agree. I also would tell you, Quinn Snyder is a good coach, man.
He
Tony
is.
Snyder is a really, really good coach. I think that he could certainly turn some heads. He's definitely going to have him ready to play. So I'll be interested to see what happens. It would be ironic if the demons that this team exercises is going into a second round against the Hawks and beating them and like just absolutely smashing them in 4 games and going to the Eastern Conference Finals. It would be it's almost too poetic, but it would I almost root for it because I feel like that's the kind of demons you got to exercise.
If Ben was playing this round for Brooklyn, I would say the gods would intervene and we would be playing, or they would be playing Boston in the second round.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I 100% agree. I actually think that if Ben was playing,
They're winning in 4 instead of 5.
right, exactly. They're just they're good. I mean, they're this is a bunch of guys who caught fire at the right time. Like they got some length on the wings, but like they don't have any. Their big guys are forwards. Like Nick Claxton is 6'10" and 100 pounds soaking wet.
NBA player for sure, but not up
Yeah,
for the task for Joel.
he's an NBA player. He's not up for the task. I mean, I think Joe averages, he gets his average against him. I think 33 on the nose is what he averages against Nick Claxton. So, you know, all due respect to them, but this is the worst possible matchup for them.
I think it's 5 is my on the record prediction. I think it's an easy 5.
Yeah,
The only caveat there being a game that, because of the revenge factor, and that's how I look at things, Seth and Mikal combined for 9, 10, 11, 12 threes, and it's just a hot
yeah,
shooting night for those two guys. I think that game could be game 2 in Philly with Mikal coming home, Seth being back here.
yeah. That's
Mad that
true.
his Roland hustle got cut a little short
Right.
because of that trade last year. Thought they minimized his profile. He thought maybe he was getting on his brother's level nationally,
Right.
and they do that to him. That's costly to the pockets. And Mikal Bridges, I'm sure, is a guy that grew up wanting to play for the fucking Sixers, as you did, as I did when I was playing CYO ball, all of those things. And the trade, just a disastrous brain fart from
I
Brett
mean,
Brown, a fucking masterclass. My
a
favorite
man,
thing was, well, they used one of the picks to get Tobias. Oh, great! You're making the argument. It's like that meme of Chidi on The Good Place. You realize that's worse,
yeah,
right? Like, tell me
yeah.
you know that's worse.
Wait, you realize that's actually worse, right? Like, yeah, like it's funny because I feel like it's just along the lines of like things that happened in that 3 year span that could have redirected history. Like who's to say what they look like had they kept Jimmy? I know. Shout out to Andrew Uttenberger. AU always says that the Tobias trade was they didn't need to make the Tobias trade as quickly as they made it. I think we were at the time it was like
I was
okay,
happy
cool.
about it at the time. I was like, oh shit, let's
Yeah, like
fucking
at the
going
time I was
all
like,
in.
all right,
Yeah,
cool, we're
yeah,
going all
yeah.
in. But like he's like he is one person who's like, you know what, they probably didn't need to make that trade as quickly as they made it. Almost like um they should have just saw how everybody looked with Jimmy at first and then
Yeah.
said, all right, so let's do it. But like, it is what it is. But like, yeah, that it's almost like, all right, well, you realize that makes things even worse that's part of the pick you used to get to Tobias, right? Like,
The story was before, right? That night at a game, someone yelled at Allen to go make some trades, and he gets
yeah,
up and leaves the stands and goes back,
and he
and then
goes back,
makes a trade at 2 o'clock in the morning. Like he needed to make the trade before everyone get up, and he's like,
you
throw
know,
in another throw in another pick, throw in another pick. We'll get you. We got you.
you know who, man, I miss him. I miss him on Twitter. I see him all the time on Instagram. But Capelli, at 2
Tokyo
a.m.
bound, another globetrotter currently.
Right, another Globetrotter, Mr. Tokyo Bound, him and the Pride of Maine. Speaking of Brett Brown,
Definitely
uh,
my favorite person from Maine, and Brett Brown is further down the list.
yeah,
Much further down.
at 2 a.m. he tweeted, he was like, "Yo, is anybody up? We just traded for Tobias Harris," and I was like, "Wait a minute, I saw it at like 5 a.m. I think I was getting up to go to the gym, and I was like, hold on. Am I looking at
Flex.
this damn timeline? And it was like, sure enough, it was like a Woj tweet from like 3 a.m. that Tobias they were getting Tobias as part of a package, and I was just like, holy shit, like Elton Brand's going all in. Now, say what you want about
Trades
Elton
are
Brand,
fun. Trades are fun.
right?
Trades are fun. There's no getting
Trades are
around that.
fun. Elton Brand always got his guy, always gets his guy. Um,
Brand would
overpaid.
have had Harden 2 or 3 weeks earlier than Morey did, but
Yo,
he would have also given up like
he
Maxi,
would
a
have
couple
also
like
given up
six,
Maxi.
six, six pick swaps.
Who I forgot how I was talking to, like they were like, yeah, like Elton Brand would have gotten them, but like he also would have given up like four future first and Tyrese Maxey for it. So like
He got it. He always got his guy.
always has guy, he's overpaid for him. He always has guy. I do think that um who it might have been Monday night after they announced like officially the matchups, but Woj came on, I think it was the jump, and said that they're going through each matchup, whatever. He's like, there is expectation in the Sixers front office that this will be at minimum an Eastern Conference championship season. So like, if there is a second round loss, there is substantial change that's coming. And like, I listen, we both are knee deep in sports, so like your idea of substantial can mean anything, but
Sure.
Um, but I buy it. I do think that internally they do have expectations that regardless of who the opponent is, that this team will at least be playing for um, a chance to go to the finals. I think that that's the proper mindset to have. I think last year they may have not believed it as much because they knew how hard it would be, given the fact that Harden played 15 regular season games, um, as opposed to the 70 or I think 66 he played this year as a Sixer exclusively. So I think they had the proper mindset. I I I agree. I think that if this is another second round loss, there's got to be some wholesale changes, and I don't think anyone should be safe.
I think this isn't, little scoop nuggets I'm dropping. I think Doc Rivers is gone. I think that's a pretty obvious one. I would
For sure.
also
Yes.
say if they lose in the second round, I would expect Joel Embiid to publicly,
Yes.
officially request a trade, and he would no
Who
longer
said
be on
that?
the
Yeah.
Sixers. I think that's that. I don't think that's necessarily breaking new ground. That seems like just how the
No.
dominoes would fall and how it's been shaping up for a while, given
Yeah.
just how everything's going on with the Ben era, with
Yep.
coaches, with everything, with even going back as it still plays a factor. I think the Hinkie situation matters
Oh
to
yeah.
him, and then the Colangelo and the organization. And I don't think he was probably happy with even the ownership in the aftermath of the Colangelo thing. Obviously,
Yes.
he bolted, but I can't imagine. I mean, the organization had to know that stuff. It wasn't. They're not fucking stupid.
I
And
don't
Joe's
think
still
they.
probably reeling too. I'm trying to look at any players who've changed teams after winning the MVP, as it seems more likely than not that Joe's winning. We have LeBron in 2010, wins with the
Yep.
Cavs, signs with
Yep.
the Heat that offseason. Then we have to
Yep.
go back to a guy that has huge impact in the city. Moses Malone wins in 1982 with the Rockets.
Traded to the
And then traded, like, it's a weird. I talked about this with a couple of basketball historians in the city. Your Bob Vitrones, your Mike Lynch's. It's a weird situation. I don't know if we could call that a trade. It was a free agent signing, but free agent deals back then had to be trade. So they traded Caldwell Jones. For the sake of this argument, we'll say that he's the most recent player to get traded after winning MVP.
Shout out to Mike Lynch
82.
too, man. I love Mike Lynch is an incredible basketball mind, especially local hoops. Terrific basketball guy. If you ever get a chance, you should look him up on Twitter.
Wilt, which seems like an obvious one. He felt like he was getting traded all the time. So I think he got traded maybe in the middle of the season, or I'm not sure. So going from Philadelphia Warriors to San Fran, and they got dealt back to Philly, and then won MVPs. They won the title in '67. That's all that I see.
I think
really, really ultra rare company. It just
rare.
Doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen.
I think that we'd be looking at probably I think for sure Doc Rivers is gone. That's a foregone conclusion. I think he's gone. I think Tobias Harris is probably gone. I think he's a guy now going into the final year of that contract. If they're finally
He's
on the
tradable now. Yeah.
now he's officially tradable, right? With him being an expiring contract, I think that Morey would do his absolute best to keep Harden here, but that also entails Harden showing improvement in the playoffs. I think that overall they would do whatever it takes to keep Embiid here. So like if Embiid's like, yo, like get me the fuck out of here, like I can't stay here and waste literally another season of my prime only to lose in 6 games. I think they would sooner be like, wait, let's fix it this summer. Also with limited resources, like if you're gonna dangle a Maxi Tobias package out there, and again, this isn't like anything that either of us know. We're just talking, but
Do they have to refly and get a new number 2 if
right,
Harden leaves? And I think it's a situation where, if, again, they burn out in the second round, there's probably issues. Probably a huge part of that is him not playing up to standard. And
yes,
Joel might not want to back, and he just frankly might not want to be back and deal with all the bullshit here and the pressure here. And then you're thinking, okay, we need to go acquire XYZ player, and the 2 best assets we have are expiring Tobias, and Maxi's still at the tail end of his rookie contract.
right. And what do you do? Right? Do you call Dallas and see if like how much Luca loves it there? Like, do you call
Spin zone? It's actually good if they lose, because then they
right?
can
Spin
trade
zone
for
is
Luka.
actually great if they lose, right? Because then there'll be some more wholesale changes. I think that they'll be staring down the barrel of a very tough summer. I feel like we said that about this team the past 7 years, but it's the truth.
Every summer is the most important. It's like a Marvel Comics crossover. This is the most important crossover of all time. This is actually the most important summer in Sixers history.
We're finally getting into the most important summer in Sixers history. Stop me if you heard that the past 7 years, which is great for guys like us, like specifically
content-wise, it's phenomenal.
Right, content-wise, it's great. We're always going to have shit to talk about. The NBA is officially, the NBA, NFL, baseball is like getting there, but not yet. But like NBA,
it's getting
NFL,
a little bit better in terms of year-long action. Baseball,
it's getting a little better. But like,
it's because the Phillies are good. It's because
I was gonna say it's literally we're getting to the point where we're spoiled now. Like
with relevance, not saying championships with relevance.
No, we're spoiled with relevance outside of the Flyers. Like no, whatever. But like outside of the Flyers, we're spoiled with relevance. Like everybody's gonna want to talk about the Birds. Everybody wants to talk about the Phillies. Everybody wants to talk about the Sixers and what's gonna happen. So like we're absolutely spoiled with content and with relevance. There's always gonna be something to talk about. It's great.
Yeah. I hope for something. I'm hoping for just the magic of that Game 3 Eastern Conference Finals game. I think would be really meaningful.
It would be fun, man. I listen. I really, really, really look forward. Look to it. This is the other crazy part, man. Like, I think that there should be this is a knowledge share, right? I think people think that this team's second round deficiencies are a new thing. It's actually not. The Sixers are 1-12 in second round series since 1986. So
it's
like
fucking insane.
Since I was 1, the Sixers have made it past the second round of playoffs one time. And I think that the biggest culprit has been the fucking Celtics. The Celtics have in every way when it comes to the playoffs been a pain in the ass of this team.
And it's like this franchise, like not even just like this iteration of the Sixers, right?
This franchise, like the Celtics beating them this year would exercise demons from literally 37 years ago. Like people have no clue what that means for this actual franchise. Like Dr. J himself, I'm sure, could speak to it. Like they didn't beat Boston until Andrew Toney became the Boston Strangler. You know what I mean?
And yeah, they beat him in 82, and they beat him in 83 when Moses is here, and then they get Dennis Johnson and it's over. Right. Kind of just puts the fucking collapse on Andrew Toney and then Tony's injury situation.
Yeah, his foot, his bone spurs and stuff, and like that led to, his issues with the team.
Like, just think, like, people don't even like the first round in 2002, coming off that, uh,
the championship there.
the NFL, the NBA Finals appearance. They lose to Boston in 5 back when that was a best of 5 series. That sucked. I wasn't allowed to stay up late and watch all
Right.
those games.
Of course, yeah.
Probably had a really fucking important spelling test the next day.
Yeah.
And
you had to get into the pro.
I'd wake up the next morning and furiously check NBC 10 when that's how you would get your sports news back then. Yeah. Remember they had one little like late second buzzer beater, and I'm looking up the series now. Jesus, so had game one's in Boston. This is the Sixers are a 6 seed after being in the finals. A little bit of rough downturn. Boston's a 3 seed. Game 1 in Boston, Celtics 92, Sixers 82. Game 2 in Boston, Celtics 93, Sixers 85. Game 3 in Philly, Sixers 108, Celtics 103. Game 4 in Philly, Sixers 83, Celtics 81. What a disgusting fucking game.
Look at those final scores.
That's peak early 2000s Eastern Conference basketball right there. Disgusting. And then in Game 5, they got schlonged 120 to 87. Paul Pierce had 46.
We had that would have been
Iverson shot a nice 38% in the series.
So that would have been my junior year. And we used to have the Enquirer. So we had the Enquirer, or like someone would come in with a daily news.
Nice,
and that's
nice.
How we get the, the scores and stuff. But like, I remember, I feel like after that finals year, man, because you get the other thing I remember is that finals year, there was a lot that they didn't discuss in terms of AI's body and like what it went through. I think that whole year afterwards, he was like hurt. So like,
probably,
I'm sure, I imagine that like it was that combined with the fact that they just weren't a really good team. I
wrote about this today at phillyvoice.com. Definitely check it out if you're amping for Sixers discussion. We're doing a whole series of these Sixers similar articles. We're ranking every position for Sixers players ever, minimum 200 game threshold. We're ranking every center. It's dropped today on phillyvoice.com. Ranked. We're tomorrow, Thursday, will be power forwards. I think 3s on Friday, and then 2 guards on Monday, point guards on Tuesday. And Theo Ratliff came on the list, I think, around 7th, maybe. And I wrote, that's actually a pretty intriguing what if.
Yeah.
Because he's an all-star in 2001, but gets injured. And it's 100% was the correct move, even if it didn't really come to fruition, the championship. They trade for Mutombo, so they have a big body to play against Shaq, because it's inevitable if they're going to play Shaq if they make the finals. Yeah. But Theo Ratliff was 27. Kembe's 40 was 34.
Yeah.
And he only lasts one more full year in Philly. He's getting older, banged up. And Theo Ratliff could have been a better long-term pairing for Iverson, I think, as a kind of a true rim protector. Yeah. And I mean, 7-year difference in the NBA is gigantic, especially for a guy. I think Dikembe had a lot of miles, played a lot of playoff games, a lot of different places, played at G-Town for a while. I think that really made a difference. And just a lot of those little what ifs play into Iverson's prime. You have the 97 draft fiasco with Larry Hughes and Pierce and Dirk. I mean, there's no way they're going to pick Dirk, so I think it's hard to say Dirk. It's not like now with foreign players, but Larry Brown promising Larry Hughes the pick when Paul Pierce was there, and Larry Brown being such a fucking Kansas guy too. It really doesn't make any sense, right?
And also not lying.
It was a reverse Chip Kelly situation,
right? Like the guy loves Kansas more than he loves anything, and then like
the best Kansas player of the decade.
But like, how do you justify it just by saying, "Oh, well, I promised them"? Who fucking cares?
Do you think does anyone view you as a trustworthy individual to begin with? Like, what fucking standard did you have to continue holding yourself up for?
Oh, I don't know, Larry. It's gonna ruin your legacy now. People trust you.
What a fucking jerk! Man. I mean, definitely was a guy who wouldn't be a coach now in the NBA. Just the style is just a completely different era.
This guy was
passing by. Yeah, but I think it worked for a short period of time with Iverson. The capture the magic of 2001, kind of reining him in a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that there's still a you know, there's still like part of me, there's like a just like a shedding of like old stuff, right? I feel like this, for all of his warts, I feel like Daryl Morey has been trying to get the team to operate as a team. You know, like Larry Brown was like so fucking old school, you know, and then like Brett Brown came in, you know, he was brought in with a very specific goal in mind. And then like you have a guy like Doc Rivers who, like, literally, jokes aside and other stuff, like the guy coached a 54-win team this year. Like, you know,
like I think he sucks and should be fired, but at the same time, I think he's better than 99% of Sixers fans think he is.
right. I'm right there with you. I think that he sucks, and I think that if they lose in the second round, he'll be on the first thing smoking.
And there's a personality thing we don't know. Is
Right.
Joel Embiid more comfortable right now? How did Doc maneuver the locker room with the Ben hysteria after the Hawks series and him sitting out and Joel still putting up MVP caliber seasons? It could
I
have been a
think that,
situation where Joel really easily checked out. And again, we don't know these things, but they're NBA coaches, like I think 75% of the job has nothing to do with X's and O's and what's going on in the court and rotations. It's all, and the better your team is, the less X's and O's matter. What was Brett Brown really good at? Player development,
right.
and that's why he was brought in that time. When it came to doing the star management, he just was super duper inexperienced and frankly unqualified there. And I think the family relationship with Simmons became a detriment rather than a positive at a certain point, in terms of letting him run free responsibility wise and attitude wise and awareness wise. But I think Doc is probably a little bit better than Sixers fans think, but I still not, calling Doc Rivers an elite coach in the NBA or even
Right.
very good. Maybe he's just
Right.
fine. And you can have just a fine coach and win the championship if you have the players to match.
Well, I feel like you have to go back to what Doc himself always says, is that they don't practice. Like a lot of being a coach is just managing. You're managing, like they don't practice a ton during the season, which is why I think it's so tough.
I think people think they practice a lot more than they do. Like, what are they working on in practice? Do you think they have fucking time to practice, especially with load management and all that? They're not wasting. There's no one's running fucking suicides the night after, the morning after a back-to-back anymore.
Right. They're not, like, he doesn't have them in to run suicides. He has them in to talk about game plan, and game plan 98% of the time is we're going to pick and roll in the def. All right. See you guys in 6 hours for game time. Like,
yeah,
that's it.
We're gonna have James bring it up. We're gonna do a little pick action with Joe and see what happens from there. Right. You got that down. You guys stand in the corners. We'll be okay.
All right, we'll be all right. Everybody knows what they do. All right, cool. We'll see you guys in 10 hours. And then, like, it is management. So I think you're right. It's like, what did he do in that locker room that made Joel so comfortable? What did he do that made everybody else feel comfortable? And I think what he did was he told everybody, look, this is Joel's team. Does anybody have an issue with that? Right? I'm Doc Rivers. I'm standing in the middle of the locker room. This is Joel Embiid's team. Does anybody have any qualms with that? Okay, great. No one else. There's not a more talented person in this locker room. Cool. Great. Let's move forward.
Yep.
Because fast forward to now, what does this team look like without Joel Embiid? Not even in the play-in. Like this is a lottery team without Joel Embiid.
Unquestionably.
So, like, he made that very clear. He made it clear to Embiid. He made it clear to Embiid's camp. Daryl Morey, I'm sure, backed him on it. And he said, that's just how we ride. If you can't fall in line with that, we'll see you later. We'll find 5 other guys who will. And that's what they did. They found 5 guys who were in line with that. And they found a running mate, the best he's ever had, who another future Hall of Famer who is totally on board with following his lead, because for him, now it's all about a chance at a championship.
If you could pick one team for the Sixers to beat in the finals, who would it be? And this isn't a saying, oh, I hope OKC magically runs there because they'd get their teeth kicked in. It's, the equivalent of how special it was that the Eagles beat the Patriots rather than the Jaguars coming in. It doesn't carry the same cachet in the years since, and the magic of the game isn't necessarily there. So who would you, out of the teams, and I think there are a lot of compelling cases there, who would you want to beat in the NBA Finals if you could have any team, the Sixers, beat them in this instant classic 7-game series?
The Lakers.
So I think the Lakers. You beating LeBron in the finals would be really fucking cool. I think Jokic is an obvious one.
Yeah.
With Denver, I think there's beating Steph and the Warriors death machine that's defined the last 10 years of basketball would be noteworthy. And I think there's the revenge factor there with Kawhi too, with the Clippers.
Sure.
If his load management allows him to play in a playoff game, I don't really know what goes on with him sometimes.
Yeah,
I don't really know what his deal is. Sacramento would be funny. They were my second team as a kid. When you're a kid and you like a lot of teams and shit like that.
I mean, plus they have cool colors. Their color scheme is cool.
There should be more. I like the Rockies colors. It was the Rockies black hat with the purple brim was a South Philly staple back in the day for sure.
I think my second team, growing up, it was definitely a West Coast team. But ironically, I feel like it was the Clippers always sucked, but
they had an era.
I liked them during their era. They were my second team. I appreciated them during their era. Like, I thought they were really cool. I thought that they had a bunch of fun guys. You know, when they had Lamar Odom and all those dudes, I thought that was cool. So definitely them. But I would say I say the Lakers because, you know, as long as LeBron is in the playoffs, like, he's still the standard.
Sure.
Like, no offense to the death machine, but like, you put the Sixers on the other side and you put the Lakers on one. You're talking about people from before we were born telling you stories about Sixers versus Lakers.
Yes.
Like, that kind of stuff is what this city is built on. Is like, oh my God, Sixers Lakers
beating Boston and Los Angeles
beat Boston
in the finals on a finals run together hasn't happened in 40 years exactly.
Like,
now.
40 years. Like, I know both our dads are the same, so like, I know, like, my dad would tell me a shit ton of stories, and same with your dad. Like, it's just like there's history there, and there's selfishly, I want the same for me. Like, I want to be able to tell my Sixers Lakers story. Like, I feel like I have 01, and that, like, 01 still sticks in my craw because
bittersweet.
It was absolutely bittersweet, but it was a fun time, man. We had so much fun during that time. I think I don't remember a day where there wasn't something that they were doing for the Sixers during that run. But
who is the Sixers inquirer then? Was it Cordy Jones? Was that the guy's name?
I think it might have been Phil Jasner.
Phil Jasner, he was a legend, right?
Yep, it was definitely Phil Jasner before his passing, but it was definitely him. He was a Sixers guy, and to another point, he was a big AI guy. He was almost the only guy. He was pretty much the only guy outside of Stephen A. Smith that AI would talk to. Wouldn't talk to, like, gave Eskin the time of day maybe once, but like, Phil Jasner was his dude. He talked to Phil Jasner all the time.
Yeah.
And obviously the legendary Mr. Jasner and his stories and like his articles, but like, yeah, he did a really good job. I know you can find those clips and stuff, but like the Phil Jasner stories during that time were super cool.
I miss newspaper writing like that.
Yeah, me too, man. I really do miss it. That's what I do go back to, is like picking up the Inquirer. Like, my dad used to get an Inquirer and Daily News coming home, and like that was our sports center.
I mean, if you didn't grow up on it, it seems fucking stupid. And I get there's a generational divide there. I'm not gonna play the Zoomer Sixers fans for not waxing nostalgic about picking up a piece of disgusting fucking newsprint.
Yeah,
but it was a simpler age, so sometimes simpler things hit home harder. And I wanted to bring this up before, talking about the Sixers, we talk about this uncharted territory. A Sixers player winning MVP and making the finals and all of these things. It's really not just a generation. It's unknown to kind of a multiple generation thing, right? Because I would consider myself, if we're doing the generation thing, a younger millennial. I think I'm right a little before the crossroads it comes to Gen Z. So I really have the faintest memories of 2001. So I wouldn't even consider myself someone who was definitely not enthralled following the team like you were. And then you have this younger generation. I think of like the younger people we follow on Twitter, like Adam Aronson, Kevin Rice, those type of Sixers fans. Maybe only a handful of years older than them, but they're still kind of a different generation. They certainly never grew up seeing any of this type of shit.
And like, I think that's the cool part of it is you hope for past generations, that they have their own opportunity to live that kind of stuff. And I feel like that generation, ahead of us wanted us to feel that way about, 2017 and this year. I think that that's the cool part about why we're so different as a city. And I feel like it's not another one of those, we just wanted more type stuff. Like it's not. It's
There's
just
a narrative basis in this city.
Right.
Like, sports are a narrative here in Maze they might not necessarily be elsewhere.
No, it's just different. It feels different here than it feels in, Oklahoma City. Like we hang on, like everything hurts. We take everything personal. And I think that's what Dawn Staley said it, like in an interview, that it hurts so much to us because we take everything personal. We take our fandom personal. We take it personal when people ask us where we're from. We take it personal when they ask us if we're an Eagles fan. Oh, you're a Sixers fan? Are you an Eagles fan? Like, a Phillies fan? Like, everything's personal because we do. Our personality is our sports teams. It does not matter. We can be. I mean, you see, like the president of Penn was in the stands flipping off, people.
Dude, that guy, I've asked him to come on a variety of podcasts over the years, and he never replies. He was the dean of admissions when I got admitted, and like I shit you not, like to this day, I think that guy. I mean, he was reading applications, of course, right? And I gotta think that he like read my application and like looked at, because they look up your zip code, especially city kids. They're very familiar with the area, and they saw my address. They knew where I'm from. They probably knew what I was about. They could kind of read between the lines in my essays. And I like to think that guy read it and he was like, I know this kid is like deep down kind of a fucking piece of shit sports fan. and that put me over the top of some legacy with a 2,400 SAT score or whatever.
That's so funny, dude. Yeah.
I have I have like a cooler I leave in the house. If we have like people over, I'll fill it up or we'll put it outside if we're hanging, and just covered in stickers, kind of like the way I would do a denim jacket covered in buttons. And it says Saturday or Sundays are Furta, because it was Dean Furta. Sundays are Furta birds. I was like, that's fucking awesome.
I love that dude, man. I hope he's doing well.
He's no longer working at the university level. Very unfortunately, but talking about narratives, that is a Philadelphia story for sure. I think he works at he might work at Friend Select or Germantown or one of those types of schools. So I know he's not at the collegiate level. He played ball at Penn. He was a football player at Penn. I think he's the head of admissions for a select public school on the suburban area, or maybe one of those non-religious private schools.
Oh, he's doing totally cool then. All right, cool.
It's fine. Worked itself out.
Yeah.
I could imagine people were outraged and like, no, it's someone who hates the school and the administration and the kind of the mantra and the aura of Penn. That we need more of that. We need more people that are, because Penn is this city is the school in the city. But it seems so detached from Philadelphia the way you would compare it to Temple, obviously, as a state school, and even Drexel and St. Joe's in a way, because it's not necessarily a college that is filled with local people. It's a college that's, feeder for people not even just around the country, kind of across the globe. So I did like that. There should be more Philliness in Penn. I really think that, and I think
Me too. I agree.
if you're in the city, go put the campus in fucking Lower Merion. Then if you don't want the vibes like that, right?
Right. Then like I always say that like if you if you want a city school but you don't want city vibes, then maybe go check out one of the million,
Yeah, go to
go
Swarthmore or whatever the
go to
fuck.
Swarthmore or something, and like you'll get everything you ask for. But like it's got to be, you can't have that and then not have the other in this city.
I'm crushing it. Speaking of Penn, I think we talked. I'm crushing a Fiji water now. After we discussed the water debacle the other week, I just have so much fucking bottled water in this house. So if I'm going for a walk, I've been trying to just go for a walk every day, like be a little active. The weather is nice, so I'll bring a Fiji bottle for the walk because that obviously looks a lot better than carrying around like a Poland Spring if you're walking down the street. So I'm a Fiji water guy now.
Look at this jerk off.
Yeah. We didn't plug it. Did we plug the live pod?
No, we can't end on that
because we're ending a little bit on the Sixers talk. Was this Friday, Pen and Pencil Club, 1522 Latimer Street. You go down Latimer Street, it looks like you're in the middle of nowhere. You can't find a place. That means you're actually in the right spot. Right. So we will be there 7 o'clock to around 9 o'clock, talking ball, sipping on a couple of drinks, talking Sixers, talking Eagles. Maybe a little bit. It's an off-the-record podcast, so if you're someone who that's just the vibe of Pen and Pencil, we wanted to keep that going. So we're gonna be there. We're gonna be talking ball, but we might drop, some takes and nuggets that we wouldn't necessarily put out there publicly on a podcast or in an article I write or Zo's newsletter for Rights to Ricky Sanchez. Just come by. We'll give you some truth bombs. We'll have a good time. You wake up a little hungover on Saturday. You hair the dog, and you're ready for the 1 p.m.
You're ready to rock. But yeah, please do, man. I think that said it perfectly. But yeah, stop by. This is off the record. Pen and Pencil is off the
free
record.
to go. Nothing like crazy like that. You don't. It's a membership place, but you don't have to be a member to go on Friday. Don't get all nervous about that. I'm a member, but
they get confirmation from our wonderful contact that there's no dress code either.
So no, it's not that type of place at all. I saw. They do a lot of events there, and I really like the place. Yeah. It's a great spot for media and journalists. They do a lot of these talks, especially not even just sports, more so even people in the political sphere, general news sphere, hard news sphere. And it's someone that's a Wharton professor, LOL, given the previous conversation, and a freelance journalist who's doing an event there in the next week or two. And it's in the newsletter. It's spelled, "This is not a smoking event. Be assured that our little event is definitely a smoking event. You're allowed to smoke cigarettes in there. So if you want to bring some cigarettes and have a good time,
cigs inside.
Cigs inside. You miss that vibe, come do that for sure.
Come holler at us.
Should I tell my dog story real quick?
Yes.
We'll wrap up. It'll take me like 90 seconds. So we get there. So it's 6:40 games. I really like that now, the earlier games. We get down there. We get in the stadium around 6:20. I buy like 6 hot dogs, 4 for her, 2 for me. Watch 2.5 innings. I'm like, I go get downstairs and get more hot dogs. We're on the 400 level. Dude, and every line's insane. The lines near me, they zigzag so many ways. I couldn't even really know where to get in line to do it. Really, it was fucking confusing. So I walked further down around the bowl, like to the other sections, and I found one that seemed a line, and I'm in it for like 10 minutes and I haven't moved. And I'm like, am I even in a line?
Yeah.
And then it's 20 minutes, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then I realized, there's a kind of a gap where people that are walking in, I think people were just cutting in line. And then it got close to a half hour, and I moved maybe 5 feet. And I just texted her, like, I was like freaking out. I was like, I got to get the fuck out of here. Like, I'm not doing well. Like, I felt bad that it had come to that, because they had a really nice time going down there. We took the bus down to South Philly, had a couple, we got our hot dogs, had our drinks, we're doing good, and just like a lot of young crowd, which we were all young once. I'm not saying it in a bad way for them, but I didn't want to stand by myself in line with a bunch of like piss drunk 22-year-olds as someone who had frequently been a piss drunk 22-year-old at sporting events. It just wasn't working for me, and then I had to come home and detox a little bit.
I've heard similar stories in the past.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
in the past 13 hours, I've literally heard similar stories. So I think, yeah, I think we're probably a lot of people said it jokingly, but I think we can ensure that we've said hi and bye to the last dollar dog day for a while.
Yeah, I think it'll be might hang that one up in the rafters.
Yeah, it might be it. Yep. No offense to any of the dollar dog purveyors, but we're probably
I
done
don't
with it.
blame like the workers. It's a operational management from the top issue for sure. There needs to be pop-ups there, right? Do you know what I mean? It can't just be the normal concession stands. There has to be uh the logistical aspects of it where
Yep.
disastrous and you have people throwing shit last night. I'm
Right.
obviously I've done a lot of dumb screaming at games. I've never, thrown shit. I think that's
Yeah, just
unacceptable for
disgusting,
sure.
man. Like
Yeah.
that's what happens.
Because then there's
Unfortunately,
kids there, and like it's really if you're throwing shit from the top level downstairs, you don't think you're going to hurt someone, but it could really fuck someone up. You don't know, and then you're throwing
yeah.
garbage, you're throwing hot dogs. That just can't be the vibe, and like
One,
I just don't want that to be a thing.
yeah,
20 years from now, we were talking about fucking snowballs, throwing hot dogs. We can't add to the how do I want to say it the level the hall of infamy, so
it's
to
the
speak.
truth. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
I
you
mean, if you
can't.
want to scream and cheer and say fuck you to, Marlins players, that's fine to me. Maybe not to other people, but to me, it's fine.
Yeah, do
When
your
you're
thing.
throwing stuff and you're fucking up other people's
Yeah,
who are paying a lot of money to go to these games, you're fucking up their experience. That's a
that's yeah,
no-no for me.
that's my biggest thing is you once you start messing with someone else's experience, then it's a wrap, and then we have to have a conversation about it.
Yeah. All right. So that's it from us. Friday night,
Friday night.
14th, 7 o'clock, Pen and Pencil Club. Come out, have some drinks, talk some ball. Shout out to Kenwood, shout out to Tisberries. And hopefully we're looking at an early next week podcast too, recapping the Sixers' first 2 playoff games and what
Yes,
I'm
sir.
expecting to be 2 wins.
Yes, sir. Peace.